Next on the news, the Vatican is speaking out about euthanasia and assisted suicide as end-of-life issues make headlines around the world. A mayor in Texas has become a pillar for persecuted Christians in Nigeria by building Christian schools in the African country.
When they pick up their Bible to walk to church on a Sunday, they realize it might be the last thing they do. And they do it, and that's amazing.
Plus, the Queens community celebrates 100 years of keeping the faith. We introduce you to the St. Clare parishioner who was there from day one. I'm Christine Persicati. Current News starts right now. New word from the Vatican. The Holy See has published a guide outlining the Church's stance on end-of-life issues. The new text comes as around the world, the topic of palliative care is making headlines. 5 European countries have legalized euthanasia. In the U.S., assisted suicide is legal in 9 states and Washington, D.C. And as of June this year, voluntary assisted dying is legal in every Australian state. Because of that, the Vatican has published a document to explain its teachings on end-of-life issues. Small Lexicon for End-of-Life breaks down important words and phrases dealing with topics like euthanasia, the vegetative state, and assisted suicide. Written by members of the Pontifical Academy for Life, its goal is to reiterate the Church's traditional stance on these topics and avoid misinterpretations. For example, the document clarifies 3 circumstances where it is morally acceptable to stop artificial nutrition and hydration: when they are no longer clinically effective, meaning when the tissues are no longer able to absorb the administered substances, when they are unavailable in the healthcare setting, and when they cause the patient excessive burden or significant physical discomfort due to the instruments used. The new Vatican document ends with a form where a person can outline how they wish to approach healthcare treatments in the face of illness, disability, and death.
In sickness, patients desperately need help making sense of their tremendous suffering, going beyond mere human reasoning and emotions, with a perspective that encompasses the entire spiritual and transcendent dimension of the person.
This guide builds on a document the Vatican released 4 years ago that emphasized the importance of dialogue between patients and providers. The pro-life fight in Alabama has taken a turn after the state Supreme Court ruled in February that embryos are unborn children and destroying them could be considered wrongful death. Reports say more and more patients and fertility clinics there are moving the embryos out of state to either store them or destroy them. The Catholic Church is against IVF, saying it's never acceptable because it removes conception from the marital act and treats the baby as a product. In Florida, pro-lifers are trying to get the word out about an abortion item on the ballot this year. They say Florida Amendment 4 contains misleading language. It states that it will provide a constitutional right to abortion before fetal liability, which is estimated to be around 24 weeks. Florida bishops say the amendment would legalize full-term abortion with no protections for the preborn child. During his Sunday Angelus, Pope Francis prayed for the victims of that deadly plane crash in Brazil. No one survived when the aircraft went down in Sao Paulo on Friday. There were 62 people on board, including a 3-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy. Investigators are still trying to figure out why the plane crashed. Dramatic video shows it falling from the sky, dropping 17,000 feet in just 1 minute. The 2 black boxes on board the aircraft have been recovered and sent to a lab to analyze. Aviation experts say there are clues that could help investigators.
There was a warning on weather, and eyewitnesses do report hearing the engines running.
This aircraft has sort of a checkered past, if you will, about icing and about some propeller things that have happened to it, about trying to get the propeller back to where it's supposed to be.
The head of Brazil's Aviation Accidents Agency says, according to a preliminary investigation, the crew did not send any emergency mayday calls prior to crashing. 7 priests have been sent to Rome from Nicaragua. They were being detained in the Central American country. The wife of dictator Daniel Ortega announced the priests were being released and sent to the Vatican, but there were no details about the negotiation that led to their freedom. 2 other groups of priests were exiled from Nicaragua in the last 10 months. A mayor in Texas is trying to make life better for persecuted Christians in Africa. Mayor Mike Arnold of Blanco is building schools for Christian children in Nigeria. And as Kelsey Gussie reports, they've become a pillar for those facing persecution.
More Christians are killed in Nigeria each year than everywhere else in the world combined. And one Texan decided to do what he could to help people facing this violence. The mayor of Blanco, Mike Arnold, began an organization called Africa Arise in 2019 to bring support, both physical and spiritual, to these Christians.
When they pick up their Bible to walk to church on a Sunday, they realize it might be the last thing they do. And they do it, you know, and that's amazing. That's where faith is put to the test. Faith is real to them. They live it and they experience it in ways that most don't because it's real to them.
Another pillar of Africa Arise is working to improve the lives of internally displaced children. And it began at the request of one woman who escaped to a shanty town after her village was massacred.
I asked her, my heart went out to her. I said, I want to tell your story. And if people want to respond, how can we help? And I thought she'd say running water, lodging, you know, it's a house, food, clothing, healthcare, sanitation, you name it. And she said one thing, she said, help me teach these children.
From there, the organization founded 2 schools, offering classes to more than 500 full-time students. And they have broken ground on a 3rd school. Arnold says Africa Arise will continue to provide aid and education to the more than 5,000 children present in 3 camps in Nigeria.
That was Kelsey Gussie reporting. If you want to donate to Mayor Arnold's organization, just go to letusriseafrica.org. The Olympics came to a close on Sunday, and leading the way for Team USA, 2 history-making Catholic Olympians. Swimmer Katie Ledecky and rower Nick Mead were the flag bearers for the U.S. during the ceremony. Ledecky, who is the most decorated American female Olympian ever, is a devout Catholic who often prays a Hail Mary before her races. Nick Mead, who made history as a member of the first U.S. men's 4 rowing team to win a medal since the 60s, is also a devout Catholic. His parish, Church of St. Ignatius Loyola in Manhattan, congratulated him and Ledecky online for the honor. A church in Queens celebrated their history on Sunday. Bishop Brennan leading the procession and liturgy in honor of St. Clare Church's 100th anniversary. The Rosedale Parish was created in 1924 for the growing Catholic farming community. Its masses first celebrated at a firehouse that was rented by the parish. Possibly attending some of those first masses was a soon-to-be lifelong parishioner who was also in the pews during the anniversary mass, 100-year-old Theodora Pyle. Pastor Father Daniel Kingsley honored the centenarian at the end of the celebration, pointing out for as long as Miss Pyle has been alive, there has been a St. Clare Church. Do you have something amazing going on at your parish? It could appear on Currents News. Just email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. And before we go, a quick programming note for Tuesday evening. Currents News will be airing at 6:30 instead of our usual 7, so Net TV can air a live mass with a historic moment for the Diocese of Brooklyn. During the liturgy in honor of Blessed Michael McGivney, a statue of the Knights of Columbus founder will be dedicated, the first ever in the state of New York. So be sure to tune in Tuesday at 7 p.m. for that mass, and right before it, Currents News at 6:30 p.m. That is this Currents News update. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.